It is Kingdom Come right here on your classic metal show from their sophomore release with Kingdom Come in Your Face. Very catchy. Kingdom Come in Your Face.
I don't know about that.
Well, speaking of Kingdom Come in Your Face.
Yes.
A woman discovers she has HIV by Googling it.
What? She Google. All right. Where do you find this shit?
Well, if you want to know the logic behind how I find these subjects to cover,
okay,
I look them up. I don't look them up. They just happen to come through some of my news feeds and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But when I read them, I number one, as tragic or as pathetic as some of these stories are, if they make me laugh from the headline, then they're in.
Right.
The second criteria is, will this drive Chris crazy?
I'm glad that that's part of the criteria.
That is part of the criteria, because without your outrage and your color commentary, the show would not be successful.
So what you're saying is the key to success is pissing me off.
Well, no, the key to success is for me to set it up and for you to kick it over the fence.
Right.
That's the key to success. That seems to be our formula, and that seems to what has driven us almost to 3 million downloads.
It does work.
It does work, and people love it.
Yep.
Now, between speaking with you and speaking with a coworker,
okay,
even in this day and age, being that you and I were young adults in the 80s,
mm-hmm,
and my coworker is exactly your age,
okay,
I'm surprised at the attitude that prevails these days, that this devil may care attitude that you would, not specifically you, but maybe then again you, or even in relation to your book that you're writing.
Yeah.
This haphazard attitude toward getting some strange without worrying about any kind of sexually transmitted diseases.
Oh, yeah. Not so much now. Now I'm definitely begrudgingly a condom guy. But yeah, back then, fuck that. I was all about, I was a fucking bareback warrior. I don't know how I didn't catch anything.
Sure. Well, my coworker, he's a typical guy that he isn't really hip to the, well, at least he's getting more hip to it now, but prior to being involved with me on a professional basis, mm-hmm, he was one of these guys who accepted commercial radio and whatever drivel that they offered.
Okay.
So he's addicted to this program, this morning horrible radio shtick program in the morning.
Okay.
And they have a segment, or the thing that they do every day called Waiting by the Phone.
Okay. Oh, this sounds terrible. Go ahead.
And this is basically people who went out with somebody maybe once or maybe twice, and then that person never called them back.
So,
and then they want to know why. So
they give the radio station the phone number, yes, and they call them?
Exactly.
Oh, my God. What year is this?
This is where I'm going with this. So he likes this show that's Waiting by the Phone.
Oh, my God.
And 9 times out of 10, even though it does have some female callers, I would say 9 times out of 10, it's usually the dudes who can't get a hold of some chick that they took out.
So literally it's that ring, ring. Is this Mary?
Yes.
Mary, it's Bill and Jack from WTL.
That's exactly. You're live on the air, which of course they're not. We got to let you know that you're live on the air, and we need to get your permission to continue to talk. Is it okay? Is it cool?
Yeah, we want to play a little game with you today, Mary. Are you up for a game?
Hey, remember this guy, John? Did you go out with a guy by the name of John? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, John tells us that you and I went out for a date, and he thought things went really well, but now he can't get a hold of you. You won't call him back. What's the reason for this?
Oh, that's crazy. I never got a message from John. Right? Mm-hmm. That's their answer every time.
No, it's there is a reason.
Oh, then they say, yeah, John's a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a dick, or he wanted me to give him a handy under the table on our first date, or, something goofy like that,
Yeah, he felt my tit before he said hello.
Yeah, more or less, yeah.
Right. Well, and it turns out that the guy's a creep every time?
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Or he's meets some chick, and, like, on the second date, he, like, gives her, like, flowers and gifts and this and that, and starts planning their future together. And they're just like, this guy's creeping me out, I just met the guy.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that they talk about.
Right, okay.
Well, one happened to come up this week where some girl called in and said, I went out with this guy, and I thought we had a great time, and he took me out, and we had fun, and blah, 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 and he said he had fun too, and then he gave me a peck on the lips, and then I haven't heard from him since. And
I really thought this thing with Wendell was going somewhere.
So they get a hold of the dude, right?
Okay.
And they say, she thought things went well and was having a good time, and, what happened? Yeah. So he's just like, well, I this is kind of uncomfortable for me, but, I'm kind of a germaphobe and a little bit OCD. And, well, to be honest with you, she had a big old cold sore on her lip. And, kind of creeped me out. I don't know if she's got HPV or she's got like a herpes or whatever. And,
man,
I'm not interested in catching that. He said that, right?
Right.
And of course she's on the other line, and he doesn't know it, supposedly. And then, oh my God, you're making something out of nothing. That was just a pimple, and I was just so nervous that I picked at it too much, and it made it bigger than it was. And it's not a herpes, and it's not. And it's like, how do I know that?
Oh, and your guy listens to this every day.
Oh yeah, every day.
Oh boy, poor guy.
But getting back to that, so of course this broke into dialogue between he and I.
Right.
And it's like, I'm kind of siding with the guy. It's like, this chick's shows up with a cold sore on her lip. I don't know what that is. I mean, she might have HPV. She might have a herpes. She might have this. I don't want to pick that up.
What is HPV?
It's a immune deficiency problem. It's a, I don't even want to say it's a lesser grade of HIV, but it sort of is.
So it doesn't ever go away?
Well, it could. Sometimes your immunity system is strong enough to where it will eliminate it out of your system.
Okay.
But sometimes it doesn't, depending on your immunities.
That's catchy?
It is catchy. You can definitely transmit it.
Okay. I've never heard of an HPV.
Yeah, look it up.
Oh, God, that's not it. Is it on that? Ugh. Jesus Christ, Nathan. I did not need to see that.
Yeah, that's cold sore on your lip. Look at that.
That's not a cold. That's a cold face.
Yeah, well, I know, but that's what it morphs into.
Oh yeah, if she showed up looking like that,
no, she said she just had a quote unquote pimple on her lip, is what she said.
Jesus, that's some ugly shit there.
Yeah, but there's a lot of fucked up shit. HPV is genital warts, right? Demons got it,
All right.
And sometimes, depending on your immunity system, it will eliminate it. It will just sort of like filter it out, kind of like a spam filter.
Wow.
And
Right. Okay.
then sometimes it won't. Just depending on how strong it is. However, how strong your immunities are.
Yeah. No kidding.
So I have this discussion with this guy, and I'm just like, yeah, I kind of side with that guy.
I hope before you got to siding with that guy, you were like, dude, why are you listening to that shit?
Well, we rag on that all the time, because as soon as that's over that segment, it's like, let's listen to some real good shit. Let's listen to the CMS. Let's listen to something real.
So he goes from that to us.
Yes.
Ooh.
But he loves our show.
I'm sure he does.
He does. He loves it.
What I don't get is how's he go back to the other?
Well, because he's just so used to it because he's been listening to it for God knows how long, years.
Dude, teach him something. Rogan, Kumia, anything.
Dude, he really does. He is starting to broaden his horizons and really realizing that there's other shit out there except for what commercial radio is feeding you.
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, dude. Yeah.
It's terrible.
That is bad.
But anyway, we got into the whole discussion of, people and their habits.
Okay.
And the chances they're willing to take.
Right.
And, he has that attitude that, well, if she's hot, man, I would have banged her, cold sore or not.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. It's like, not me, pal. I'm out of there.
Well, whose attitude was that? Your coworker?
Yeah.
Or the guy on the phone?
No, my coworker. Because that started the conversation between us, that whole guy on the radio saying, yeah, he didn't call this chick back because he was afraid she had some kind of some kind of a disease, some kind of sexually transmitted disease.
So with you, timing is everything. So, meaning this, a week later, she might not be showing that.
True, absolutely true. And I will agree with you there. I will agree. But the guy, got creeped out. He was just like, I'm not really sure. This chick's showing signs of something that could potentially be, hazardous to me. I'm just not, fuck that.
You wouldn't go for the second date like a week later, see if it was gone?
No. Well, see, that's the thing. He basically said that he's sort of a germaphobe and kind of OCD, and it creeped him out enough to where he was just like, fuck that. I'm not calling that chick.
So you think he's ever eaten pussy?
I don't know the whole story. That was the end of the discussion on that thing on the phone, or on the radio rather.
I mean, I'm just curious. Do you germaphobes eat pussy?
Absolutely.
Do you like to do it, or do you do it?
No. I'm not going to put myself in the same category as being a germaphobe.
Pretty close.
But my point is the reason this guy said he didn't call this girl back is because she had this cold sore looking thing on her lip.
Mm-hmm.
And his instinct told him she might have some kind of HPV or some kind of herpes or something.
All right.
So I'm not going to risk, contracting that.
What if you met her and her brother had a cold sore? Would you still fuck her?
Well, do you think it's transmitted between siblings?
Well, maybe through like silverware or something.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm asking. I'm asking if I didn't ask that right. If you came into a situation with a chick and you were on maybe the second date.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, her brother was dropping her off wherever you were.
All right.
Going.
Yeah.
And her brother's face was all fucked up with like sores, like that picture in the chat room.
I would probably say to her, "What's up with your brother?"
But would you? But
would I automatically think that she has it too? No. Me personally, no. I wouldn't automatically jump to that conclusion.
So you saw those cold sores on the brother, and then two bottles of wine later, she's like, "Come and fuck me." Fuck her?
Well, it wouldn't bother me if it's her brother. If she came in looking like that, then of course, yeah, that'd be a problem.
All right. What if you saw a picture of her like 5 years earlier with sores?
Well, then I'd have to ask her, what's that all about?
So you would trust her?
I'm not going to say I'm trust her, but I would ask.
Yeah, that was nothing. Still going to hit it or not?
No, I would have to say, well, that isn't just nothing. Something happened there. How did you get that?
It was 5 years ago. I don't remember.
You don't forget something like that.
Oh, what would you do? She said she didn't remember.
Well, then I'd have to say I can't trust the situation because you don't forget something like that.
I know me. I'd hit it.
Yeah, see? Well, that's where our discussion went.
Yep.
I was just like, yeah, you and my partner, Chris, you guys have that same attitude.
Right.
He said, well, dude, it's free pussy. When'd you get it? It's like, I don't need it that bad.
It's not about need.
Well, I don't want it that bad. How's that?
That's closer. I definitely want it that bad.
Jeez.
You know, dude, I know I'm 1,000% wrong in the minority here. Not wrong, but in the minority. But you don't have that instinct in you to just anytime it's attainable, get it.
No.
I have that as hard as anything. As much as I have the attitude that I need to drink alcohol or do any of my other vices. If it's there, I want it.
Well, dude, I told you the story before about on a few occasions, especially the one girl by the name of April. I told you that story.
Yeah.
This girl was built like a brick shithouse. I mean, fine ass, big boobs, pretty face, just gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And she basically came to the club one night and told me that she was having that party in the hotel.
Right.
And she was kicking everybody out and she was coming back after me about midnight.
Right.
But because I knew about her lifestyle, because I knew that she was into, drugs and various other things, even though she was a very, very nice looking girl.
Mm-hmm.
I went home. I was just like, fuck that. I'd have a chance to hit that, but it's like, no, I don't know what that. Again, this was in the height of the 80s with HIV and AIDS and drugs and all that shit. And I was just like, no, I'm not getting involved with that.
So you just fucking wrap it tighter.
No, no way.
I bet you. In fact, I know there's one time only that I turned it down, ever, in my entire life that's ever been offered, and I turned it down. One, and it still haunts me. It absolutely haunts me. That it haunts me to the point that if I could find where this girl was, I would try and hit it, just because I should have hit it.
All right.
In my head, that's just where I am. Is the one girl. And I didn't hit it because, one, I was like really, really drunk. I was like, man, I wasn't even sure I could go. And two, she was not really that good looking. She really wasn't. But it was like 4 a.m. at a party, and she started rubbing my junk.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, you want me to suck your dick? And I was like, in and out of like almost sleep. So I said no.
Yeah.
And I still regret it.
Yeah.
This is 35 years ago.
It's a missed opportunity, goddammit.
I know, and it still bothers me.
I could have added to that 5 gallons of jizz.
I could have. Had 5 gallons and 10 cc's.
Exactly.
Damn it. But it does. It's still, dude, that literally was 1987.
Sure.
And it bothers me today that I did not fucking do that.
Right.
It fucking irks me.
Yeah. Well, I've been in numerous situations where I could have hit it and I didn't because it was just like, nah, it's not worth the risk. Not worth it.
I think I've taken every risk, whether they were, health risks, marital risks, whatever. Never cared.
Nope. I've just been too sober minded for that.
Never once cared.
Yeah.
Dude, the worst one is similar to what you're saying here was this one girl that she had really horrible acne, and I mean to where it was really bad. But I still banged her. We were out. I couldn't even really look at her, but I still banged her. Just the way it went.
Yeah, well, that's just you.
Yep, it never changes for me.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, this woman discovers she has HIV by Googling it.
Yeah.
The signs were everywhere, and this brings up another point.
Okay.
Again, here we are 30 years removed from the 80s, and we still, as a society, have learned nothing.
Right.
In my mind, AIDS at this point should have been wiped out.
By now?
Yeah, by now.
Yeah, you would think so.
Well, that's my point. It's just like we learned all about it, how it's transmitted, where it comes from, how you get it, and we're still dealing with epidemics of it in this country.
Oh, sure.
There's no reason for that.
No, there's not.
And the thing is that since the 60s, and we've covered this before, although high-profile deaths due to heroin,
right?
And even into the 90s with, Lane Staley and Kurt Cobain. Of course, he killed himself, but he was addicted to heroin, which is why he was in the rehab.
Right.
And of course, Scott Weiland recently. All these people, heroin, and then, we've talked about the epidemic of heroin and HIV outbreak in southern Indiana, where they've, declared state of emergency for a few counties down there because of this.
Right.
It's like, why haven't we learned anything? But here we are. We got still middle class, fairly educated people still succumbing to this. It's just ridiculous.
Right.
So anyway, the signs were everywhere. Abby Landy had broken out in cold sores. Here we go. And was physically ill and just received a sinister text from a former lover reading, "I hope you remember me forever." The kiss of death. She went to the doctor, who told her the chances of her contracting HIV were slim, given she was a heterosexual woman living in Australia.
Okay.
The legal assistant went home and jumped on her computer. That's when she discovered the virus was likely replicating in her blood. On Thursday, to mark the National Day of Women Living with HIV, the 28-year-old revisited those awful early moments. She told the Australian Broadcasting Corporation that 5 years ago, shortly after she started a new relationship, she felt unlike her normal, healthy self. "I had recently started a new relationship, so I got a sexual health screen," she said. "I was given some antiviral for the cold sores, and it came back all clear. Everything was negative." Her doctor said, she says, told her, "You're an Australian woman and shouldn't worry." When she insisted on an HIV test, she clearly remembers the look on the doctor's face.
Okay.
"I told her what the guy had said, so she ordered the test, and I got a call back about 3 days later asking me to come back in.
Oh, boy.
I was still really sick at this point, and the doctor was really visibly distressed. She said, 'I'm sorry, but it looks like you've contracted HIV.'"
She was like, "God damn it, why did I fuck that shaky keyboard player at the mall?"
"I saw a specialist and he laid down the facts. I said, 'When am I dying? What does this mean? I had no idea what it meant to have HIV in 2012. I assumed it was game over.'"
Oh, yeah.
He said, "Look, it's a really manageable chronic disease. You take a couple of pills a day. People live next to normal lives." And that's when I thought, okay, life does continue.
Okay.
Landy is telling her story because her doctor's failure to diagnose HIV in women is so common. According to the National Association of People with HIV Australia, the test for HIV is often overlooked. AIDS Action Council Philippa Moss told the ABC that the stigma is part of the reason. Women are far too often silenced, and their experiences are not recognized and unaddressed because women don't meet the stereotype of the so-called typical person who's going to contract HIV. HIV is seen as a gay man's disease when in fact it's not. Well, isn't that the stigma that we lived with the 80s?
Yeah, well, in the 80s, that's all we believed.
Yeah. So here we are 30 years removed, and people are still believing that that's a gay man's disease.
And I think we've identified like drug use and needles and shit.
Yeah, anything that's bloodborne is you're susceptible.
Yeah, anything.
Period. Doesn't matter what your sex is or what your gender is or anything.
You can get it from a transfusion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a message echoed by Landry, who said she knows of a number of women who are discriminated against because they contracted the virus. People assume if you're not black or a gay man, then you must be a slut, she told the news.
Ow.
And that is true. They said 50% of all HIV new contractions are from the blacks.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Why is that?
Because they fuck indiscriminately. They use no protection at all. They fuck anything that moves.
They don't stay with one baby mama?
No.
They jump around?
They just fuck everything.
Jump around.
Exactly. They're 13% of the population, but are responsible for 50% of the outbreaks.
Is that U.S. only, or is that in the world?
That's in the U.S. at least.
Okay. Wow.
But I think the reason I avoided a lot of the discrimination a lot of people with HIV and AIDS face is because I'm really open about it. I'm really unapologetic. I'm not ashamed of it.
Hold on. I'm stuck on the last part that you said with the numbers. You said they're 13% of the population.
Blacks are 13% of the U.S. population.
But 50% of the cases.
Correct.
So what then is the percentage of black guys that have HIV? Like 70%?
Quite a few.
Like it's got to be higher than the 50.
Yeah, it's very high.
Because if they're 50% of all the cases, then just within the black community, the black guys would have to be higher, wouldn't it?
Not necessarily, because if you have multiple partners, one person can infect 10 people.
Right, okay, yeah. Wow. That's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
So if you go out there and start fucking like animals and use no protection or precautions, you're going to infect a lot of people.
No wonder everybody goes younger and younger. You're of AIDS.
Yeah.
Oh, you're 12? Well, at least I know nobody else has gotten there.
Exactly.
Jesus.
I'm not ashamed. It is what it is. I think the way you present it goes a long way as to how people will react to you.
Wow.
So as somebody in my age who was at the height of HIV and AIDS, I'm still surprised that this is still a story.
Yeah. Well, do you think it's just that our generation did a bad job of portraying it to the next generation?
No, I think the communication definitely broke down there somewhere.
Because they were really banging that message home in the 80s.
Well, it had an impact on me.
Yeah.
I mean, the first time I heard of the term gay was probably about, I'm going to say about 1980.
Okay.
I'm going to say about 1980. And then somewhere about 80, I'm going to say 84 was probably when it was really, in the news a lot.
Look at that post.
All right. There you go.
God damn it, Nathan.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Look at that. Be like Neely and avoid the pussy. I don't avoid the pussy. It's just that I'm careful about it.
Yeah.
It's just like, holy shit.
But see, I honestly think any pussy is rolling the dice.
I agree, but it's not as high of a percentage. I mean, we've talked about, you and I have had this discussion on the show about, would you bang a black chick?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that the risk is higher.
Yeah. Well, but in fairness, you say that, but in fairness, one of your more recent ones that you were with, she was trading them out for concert tickets. You know I'm right.
Well, that could possibly be the case, yes.
And with that theory in mind that she was literally changing cocks for tickets.
Right.
she would have been more dangerous than the girl that served you and Nathan at the Megadeth show.
Sure.
You know, but you had no problem banging that out.
I didn't do that. Oh, you mean this other one?
Yeah, the ticket one.
Yeah.
You had no problem with that.
Right.
Banging that fucking.
I'm not saying that it's foolproof. I'm just saying that the risk is lower.
I guarantee you were fucking barebacking that when it was bad.
No.
You wrapped that up?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, I don't think I would have.
See, that's the difference.
I know I wouldn't have. Girl that looked like that offering it to me? Yeah.
Nope.
Would she have let you?
I have no idea. I didn't even broach the subject.